everyone, my name is Dena. I'm back with another video today. Today I'll be making the Stars at Night pendant, which can be reversible. So don't forget to click down on the show more button down below so that way you can get a list of supplies, gather them up, meet me back, and I will show you what needs to be done. Alright, so now that you have all of your supplies ready to go, let's get our needle and thread out. I do have a stop bead at the end of the thread to help keep all the beads from falling off. I would suggest to leave yourself a good amount of tail thread at the end of the stop bead, because sometimes this first step you have to loosen everything up a little bit, and just with a stop bead there it'll make it a little bit easier to do that. So our first step, we're going to choose one of our two colors of the 11-0s. I'm going to do the darker color. We're going to pick up a combination of 11-0 and then a tubelet and do that 10 times. And this will help us form the middle of the star. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. It's 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now that you have your combination of 10 seed beads with 10 tubelets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, go all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to start rounding this out. Go ahead and go back through that first seed bead plus the first tublet. First seed bead and first tublet. We're going to skip the next seed bead and go through the next tublet. Then we will go through the following seed bead and then the next tublet, and then that seed bead we're skipping. So it's a pattern of skip a bead, go through the tublet, go through the seed bead, go through the tublet, and skip a bead again. So that one skips. We're going to go through this one, and we're going to go through the next tublet right away. Skip the next seed bead, go through the tublet, seed bead, tublet, and then skip that last one, and then go through your last tublet, your last seed bead, or that first seed bead at the very beginning, if my needle will let me, and then come out through that first tublet. Alright, so now what we're going to end up doing is those seed beads that we skipped the first round, we're going to make those seed beads come inside like this to form a little peak. So go ahead and go through that seed bead that we first skipped, and then come on out. And then now we're going to add, my thread a little bit longer. We're going to add a seed bead, crystal, and seed bead. So now our little circle kind of looks where this is going to pop down like this. Well, this one right here is going to pop up. So we're going to go through this other one that's over here that we skipped again on the first round. So we're going to go through that one. And then when you pull all this down, it'll make your first little peak of your star come through. So now we're going to add another seed bead, crystal, seed bead, and then we're going to go through the next one that we skipped. Just like that. Okay, so go ahead and do the last three parts of the star. I would suggest to go through this inner circle of the crystals at least one more time, just to make sure that there is enough tension on it and everything. But this is also where I was talking about that if you get too tight, you can always loosen up that seed bead a little bit and then just massage your beads, and then that'll help loosen them up just a little bit to where you can actually make everything fit correctly. So go ahead and get that finished right there, and then meet me back and I will show you the next step. Alright, so now your stars should look something similar to this, where you have your crystals on the inside and then your tubelets are in a formation to make it look like a star. So right now my thread is actually coming out of one of the corner beads here in between the two tubelets. So just move your thread, if you're somewhere in this section, just move your thread through until you get out to one of the outer ones. In this step we're going to be adding our quad bows. So you want to pick up 3 of your 11 O's in the alternate color. And then your quad bows, you want to go through one of the center 2 holes. Doesn't matter which one, but one of the center 2 holes. I'm going to consider this the inner portion of the quad bow, and this is going to be the outer portion of the quad bow. So I'm going to go through one of the inner holes from the inner portion. Slide that down. Then I'm going to add 3 more seed beads of the same color. Go through the other inner hole of the quad bow towards the center, and then pull that tight. I'm only going to add 2 more seed beads on this one. Then that first seed bead that we added in the alternate color, the yellow color, we're going to go straight down that one in the opposite direction. That will help orient this bead. Get the stop thread out of the way. That'll help orient that bead to where it's sitting similar to these, and it doesn't sit like this one right here where it's like a peak. So just keep your tension as tight as you can on there, but not too tight to where you're going to break beads. I've done that. And then we're going to go through that first peak one, that first 11 O that we started off with, in the same direction as the thread currently. I think I just made a little itty bitty small knot with everything. Oh well, that's fine. I'll fix it later. Or maybe not later. It won't let me go further. Okay. Now I'm fixed. Okay. Now the thread's coming out of the correct way. So now we want to get to this other bead out here. So we're going to go through the tubelet, the seed bead, tubelet, come out the seed bead, the next one in line. Man, when you start recording, things just don't work right. Okay, there we go. Now we got through that seed bead. Okay, so I'll do this little section one more time, and then we're just going to complete the other 3 sections on your own. So you want to add your 3 seed beads, go through one of your middle 2 holes of the quad bow from the inner portion to the outer portion, add 3 more seed beads, move over to the second inner hole of your quad bow, go from the outer to the inner portion of that, adding 2 more seed beads, all in this alternate color. We're going to go down in the opposite direction of that first alternate color. In my case, it's yellow. That leads everything to look about like that. Then we're going to go through the original 11O in the same direction. So I'm moving in a clockwise direction at the moment. So now, put this down so it's a little bit easier to see. I think sometimes the yellow is kind of hard to see. It looks like that. And my thread is coming out of this seed bead right here in the point. So go ahead and move around to the other 3 points and then meet me back and I will show you the next step. Okay, so now you're at the end of the last step. Your thread and needle should be coming out of this bead right here, this 11-0 that's sitting in between the 2 tubelets. Now what we want to do is go back up through the 2 11-0s that we have here and back through your Quadbow to come back out, but don't catch on to the beads that are here at the top. We want to skip those. So go ahead and do just that. Going through the 11-0 that is going in that direction, and then the 2 11-0s plus the Quadbow coming out of that second hole there in the top. What we will do here, we're going to add 2 more 11-0s. I'm using the yellow color. I'm going from that second hole at the top of the Quadbow. I'm going to jump to the outer hole and come back down. What we'll end up doing in this step is we're going to connect all of your Quadbows together so they're not flopping around so much. Alright, so next you want to pick up 2 more 11-0s. I'm going to use the alternate color, the blue one, the blue purple. Kind of looks a little bit of both of them. Pick up a crystal, pick up another 11, another crystal, and 2 more 11s. So it's a total of 2 11s, crystal, 11, crystal, 2 11s. We're going to go to our next Quadbow in line, that outer hole of the next Quadbow. Go from the bottom part of it up to the top, towards where your 11-0s, your yellow 11-0s are sitting out on top. And now we're going to add 2 11-0s. Coming out of that first hole, we're going to go down the second hole. Maybe. If I can find it. Alright. Go down that way. Go through your 3 yellow 11s. So the 2 that are sitting there, that yellow 11 there on top of the blue one. And then go through your blue 11. Basically we're getting ourselves set up to where we can do where we were sitting the last time with the last, where we started this step. So then that gets you back to where we started. So again, we're just going to go up through these 3 11s again. We're going to go through this one that is sitting on top of the blue 11s, the 2 yellow 11s on the side of it, come through your Quadbow and out. Add your 2 yellow 11s to jump from that third hole of the Quadbow to the fourth one or the outer one. Come back down. Add 2 11s in your alternate color, a crystal, 1 11, crystal, 2 11s. And then jump over to your outer hole of your next Quadbow. Go from the bottom to the top. I'm doing this twice just in case somebody got lost the first time I said it. Then I'll let you do the rest. And then add your 2 of your primary color or your first color, which in my case is the yellow. Go through your Quadbow in that second hole, through your 11-0s, go through your blue 11-0 from the left to the right to circle around to where you can get to that same spot again where we had started out. Alright, so go ahead and continue on this step and then I will meet you back and show you the next one. Alright, so when you finish that step, your thread should be coming out somewhere around, probably in this area where we had started out with that step. Where my thread is coming out is these 2 beads right here. Those are the 2 beads that when we added this step, that was the first 2 beads that we added. So it's coming out of that second bead. What we'll do on this step is we'll connect on the outer rims to finish the circle off. There again, helping out with the wobbliness of the product. So to do that, we're going to add a blue or purple, whatever color you want to call this, a 11-0, a tubelet, crystal, tubelet, and another 11-0. So that's what you should have. We're going to jump from these sets, this set of seed beads, we're going to jump all the way over to this set of seed beads and go through all of them. And just go straight through all your seed beads along the edge of the Quadbow, and that's what you should have. So let's add one more. So seed bead, tubelet, crystal, tubelet, seed bead, and then go through your next set of seed beads that are sitting on the outer edge of the Quadbow. And then continue around. Now I would suggest to go ahead and go through all of these sets of beads at least one more time. We will be doing a couple more passes through everything, but just to help strengthen it up a little bit, I would do it at least one more time. Some people may have to do it twice, just depending on their tension and depending on what type of thread and how thick the thread that you're using and things like that. So go ahead and continue around the rest of your star, go around it at least one more time, and meet me back and I'll show you the next step. Alright, so when you're done with that step, your thread should be coming out of that first, or just before that first blue seed bead that we added on the previous step. What we'll do on this step is we'll make our way down to this center 11-0 down here in between the two crystals, so we can attach this portion of it to the star. So what we'll do is we'll go through our Quadbow, and this is the outer hole of the Quadbow, through those two blue 11s that are sitting next to it, the crystal, and then the center 11-0 that's sitting in between the two crystals. Come on out of that, and then we will add 3 11s. I'm using the yellow color on this one. And what we'll end up doing, we're going to connect it to the star. So in between these two tubelets that are down here, there's the 3 11s that are sitting here. You want to attach it to that center 11-0, and you want to go in the same direction as your thread. So if you're coming out of this 11-0 up here in between the crystals on the left hand or the right hand side where I am, you want to go into this 11-0 in between the tubelets from the right hand side to the left hand side. That just allows your thread to sit nice and easily like that. So now we're going to round it back out. We're going to go back up through the 3 beads that we just added, the 3 yellow ones, and then pull a little tight, so now you can see that it's pretty much cinched up to each other. We're going to go through that center 11-0. Again, we're going to go from the left to the right side, and then we're going to move our thread over to where we get to the next one. So go up through the 2 seed beads, 2 blue ones, go up through your Quadbow, around all your seed beads that you added on the top of the Quadbow. Of course, I'm just going through the yellow ones because the blue ones are ones that I added in the previous step. If I can get my needle to do it, there we go. And then back down through the Quadbow again, through the 2 11-0s, the crystal, coming out through that center 11-0. Well, maybe. Add your 3 seed beads. Connect to that point bead down there in between the 2 tubelets. Pull those down. Go back through the 3 seed beads towards the outer edge of your circle. And then tug on it a little bit to make sure it sits nice and snug. And then go back through your 11-0 crystal 11 Quadbow and make your way over to the next one. So go ahead and add those seed beads, and I'll meet you back and show you the next step. Alright, so when you're done with that step, your thread and needle should be coming out of one of your outer holes of your quad bow. I've already done a little bit of this next step, partially to remind myself how to do it, but also so you can kind of see where we're going with this next step. So we're going to do things on the front of the project and then also on the back at the same time. So we're going to start off, like I said, your thread should be coming out of this outer hole of the quad bow. What we want to do is go through the first 5 of your 11-ohs that are on top of your quad bow. Again, mine are yellow color, so go through the first 5 and then come on out. Now we're going to be doing seed beads on top of your quad bow now. So to do that, we're going to add 5 seed beads of whatever color. Again, I'm using the yellow right now. I feel like it stands out a little bit more on the quad bows that I chose. And then what we'll end up doing here is skip over your quad bow, and we're going to go to the 2 11-ohs on this side and just go through those first 2 11-ohs. You can skip that third 11-oh that is the same color of the yellow. And then pull tight. That should sit your 11-ohs on top of your quad bow. Then we're going to move over to the other 2 11-ohs, again skipping that third one. So we're going to go to the other 2 11-ohs. Don't go through your quad bow and come out beforehand, before you go through that hole. And then give it a little bit of a tug, so hopefully your thread is not too loose. Add 5 seed beads. And then we're going to go through these middle 3 11-ohs here on the top. So just go through those middle 3 and then come on out. And I'm flipping my project because now we will do the back side before we move on to the next section. Okay, I'll flip it back over real quick so you can see what it looks like on the front. So that's what it should look like, is something like that. Flipping it to the back again. So now we're going to add beads along the back side of it. The reason why we're doing this is that I felt like it needed a little bit more stability, and doing a little bit more of this type of adding beads I think helped with the stability of the pendant. So on the back side, you can add anywhere between 6 and 8 seed beads, just depending on the thickness that you're using, if there's any type of coating or anything like that on it. And see, on this one I think I used 7. 1, 2, 6, 7, yeah. So I added 7 on mine. And so we're coming out on the left hand side over here. We're going to connect to this excuse me, this middle seed bead in between the tubelets again. We're on the left hand side, so we're going to go from the left to the right through that middle seed bead. And then come on out and then pull tight, so that way that sits there. Add 7 more seed beads, and then we're going to go through the top 5 seed beads but going in this direction. So starting with seed bead number 3, so we're going to go through 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, and then go ahead, if you catch on to the rest of it, go ahead and go through. My needle right now is coming out of the crystal. And then pull tight, if I can get my tail thread out of the way, and then it should look something similar to that. So that way it's covering up and hopefully making your project a little bit more stable. Alright, so I'm coming out of that crystal. We're going to move to the next section. So again, go through all your seed beads that you have, your tubelet, and in this case it'll be the next 6 seed beads. It'll be that first blue one and then the next 5 of the yellow ones, and come out and you are set up to do your next section. We'll do that one more time because it can be a little confusing to some people. So add your 5 seed beads on this side. We're going to go through the 2 seed beads underneath the Quadbow. And then skipping that 3rd seed bead. And then pulling tight so they kind of just sit on top of the Quadbow. Skipping that 3rd seed bead, go through the 2 seed beads on the other side, coming out before the Quadbow. Add 5 of your 11s. Go to the top, only go through the middle 3 seed beads. And then pull that tight. So now you should have 2 rows of your 11s on top of your Quadbow. Flipping the project over to the back. We're now on the back side. We're going to add 7 of the other color seed bead. And we want to go through that middle seed bead in between the 2 tubelets on the star portion. And then pull tight, add 7 more. And then go up here to the top. We want to go through the middle 5 seed beads and go ahead and start moving over to the next section. So again, it's the 5 seed beads that are yellow, then the blue one, go through the tubelet, the crystal, so on, move yourself to the next section. So again, that's what the back looks like, and then that's what the front looks like. So continue on for the next 2 or 3 sections and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so now your pendant is almost complete. The only step that we have left to do on the pendant is to make our bail. Now you have to be careful with the bail because the size of the bail is going to contain, or it has to be able to contain the necklace portion of it itself. Now what I ended up doing is just making a chain of all the different beads and things like that I used, which I'll show you that here shortly. So if you do something similar to me, then you should be able to follow this. Now we're just going to do ladder stitch with this, and we're going to make us just a simple bail. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and use both colors of seed beads. Oh, I should tell you where I'm at too. So I'm just picking up 3 seed beads, a blue, yellow, then a blue. Where I'm coming out is in that middle portion of one of the 3 sets of beads on top of the Quadbow. That's where my thread's coming out of right now. So it's sitting right here. So I picked up the 3 seed beads and we're just going to do a simple ladder stitch. So we're going to go through the 3 seed beads in the center of the Quadbow. And mine's getting a little tight with thread, which is fine. But it's not too bad just yet. And then with the ladder stitch, those 3 that you just added, you go back through them. So your thread is coming out right up in here of this. So add your next set of beads, so blue, yellow, blue. Then you're going to circle around and go back through those the first set of 3 beads that you just added. And you pull tight. Those should sit like that. Now we need to get our thread and needle to where we can add on the next set of beads. So you want to go back down the 3 that we just added. So now you have 2 rows of your ladder stitch added. We want to add a total of 7 rows. Again, if you're following what I did with the necklace portion of it, then you'll need to have 7 7 rows of ladder stitch. So that's 3. And then add number 4. And if some of your beads are kind of not quite as tight as you like, that's perfectly fine. We're going to go back through these beads one more time to strengthen it up. It is the bail portion, so it is going to get more wear and tear. So it just depends on what your preference is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 2 more to add. And that last one is slightly different because we're not going to add any more beads. We're going to connect to the pendant again, the outer portion of the pendant again. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my last one. Okay, so go back through your beads that you just added. Okay, like I said, we're not going to add any more rows to this. I'm hoping this will be enough. If not, we can adjust. So I flipped the project over to the back. We want to go through the same set of 3 beads in the center on top of the quad bow one more time. So right now when I flipped it over, my thread's now coming out of the right hand side of that last bead, so I'm going through the right hand side of these beads here. Go through those 3, and when you pull tight, make sure it's turning in the correct direction. And your beads should look something similar to that. You want to go back through your 7th row of beads again. When you go back through the 7th row of beads, it should make it down close to your project again. So now I would suggest do that last row one more time. Go back through the 3 seed beads around the base of it, then row 7. And then, like I had said earlier, we're just going to weave ourselves back through the rest of the rows to get back to the front of it. So we'll go back through row 6, and then 5, and 4, flipping to the front again. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody. And then 3, 2, 1, and then go through your 3 center beads again. And then for me, I'm going to come out there. It really doesn't matter where you can come out. You can just tie off your thread here, or you can do what I'm going to try to do, is get back down through the project to get back to where my starter thread is at. Get to that section, tie it off, burn it off, and then your pendant's done. So that's what your pendant should look like. And it is pretty much reversible also. You can wear it that way one day if you want, and you can wear it that way the next day you want. So that's more of your evening star. And then this is more of either a dawn or a dusk star. So we got one more thing to do, which is make the necklace, which is pretty simple. So come back if you want, if you like, and I'll show you that next step. Okay, so if you're wanting to make the necklace that I have made as well, I'm going to make about an 18-inch. It may not be exact, just depending on what type of clasp that you use and everything, but it's going to be around 18 inches if you do the same thing I did. So I had 22 tubelets on my mat. I went ahead and I strung everything on there so that way you didn't have to watch me do that. What I ended up doing is I started with a blue seed bead, so I did a blue 7 yellow 11s, and then I did another blue, and then a tublet, and then just did the same pattern all the way around. So I've got my last couple of sections here. So I've already got the tublet and the blue, so we're going to add 7 yellows, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're adding the last tublet. Now, to start off again, like I had said, I started with the seed beads, so I want to end with the seed beads. So I already added the blues, so we're going to add 7 yellows one more time. 6, 7, one more blue. And now we're going to add our wire guard. So those that are not familiar with wire guards, they look like a little horseshoe, and they've got channels on either sides of them. So you want to take your thread and needle and go through one of the sides, one of the channels. And oh, I forgot to mention, I did switch over to the size 8 dragon thread, so it's a little bit more stiffer, a little bit more nicer to use with the necklace. So I'm coming out of the left-hand side of the wire guard right now. I'm going to move to the right-hand side of the wire guard, and ow, don't stick yourself like I just did. I pinch the wire guard like that because that helps to keep the thread in the little channel that's at the top of the wire guard that's there. So you want to make sure that happens. And with it being a bunch of seed beads right here, you're going to see quite a big gap. What I usually do is just go ahead and I pinch the bottom end of that wire guard to make it a little bit smaller if you need to. That way it just sits a little bit easier. So now all you have to do with this is just go straight through all of your beads down to the other end, so you can add on the other wire guard, which I will not bore you to show you all of that. But once you get down to the other end, you add the wire guard the same way, then you just tie off your thread. So after all of that's done, all you have to do now is get your tools, which I don't know where my other pliers is at the moment, so we're gonna use what we got, and so we're gonna add jump rings so that way we can add our clasp. So I'm using the oval jump rings on this. Well, my shaking's bad today. Just twist it open like that. You would slide it into your wire guard. Here you can go ahead and add one side of your clasp. There we go. And then you twist it back, closed again, and now your clasp is attached to one end of your necklace. Now again, like I said, you're going to end up doing that on the other side as well, so that way you would have your whole necklace attached. Before you add that last wire guard though, I should probably mention you got to add your pendant first. I almost forgot about that. So before you add that last wire guard, when you go all the way back down, add your pendant first. It makes it a little bit easier to go through everything. If you forget about it, it's fine. You'll just have to pinch your pendant or pinch your wire guard a little bit, but don't add your clasp yet. Depending on what clasp that you use, you may or may not be able to get through that bail of your pendant. So if you forgot about it, that's fine. Just take your clasp back off and then pinch your wire guard a little bit more if you need to, if it needs a little bit more help. But other than that, after all that's done, you are done with your necklace. Thank you so much for watching my Stars at Night pendant tutorial. I hope you really liked it. And remember, it can still be reversible. So this is the other colorway that I did in the purples and the cream, or the crystal color. So again, I hope you really liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that way you can get more videos from PotomacBeads. Thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.